so far about your character?
My character?
Yeah.
The show? Well, I'll start with the show first. For the show, takes place a couple hundred years in the future. It's the very beginning stages of human colonization of the solar system. We've only gotten out to the belt. So it's like Earth, Mars, and a couple of colonies in the belt. And it essentially revolves around three characters who come across a mystery, a conspiracy, an enigma, whatever you want to call it, that has the potential to change how we define humanity, and also has the potential to start an incredibly large war. And I play James Holden, who's one of those three characters, and he's a second officer on an ice hauler when you meet him. And that's kind of the modern day equivalent of working on an oil rig or like an oil tanker or something. He's transporting water essentially, which has become a major commodity in the future for obvious reasons. And he's a little arrogant. He doesn't really want to answer to anybody. He spent his whole life kind of running from authority. Wants to live his life the way he wants to live it. Likes a simple life. Chooses to be out in the middle of nowhere. He's from Earth. And constantly passing up on promotions. Like, really just wants to be this way. Very simple for him. And through this one very simple altruistic act of answering a distress call that he comes across, he gets pulled into this much larger conspiracy, and he kind of inadvertently becomes the face of socio-political tension in the solar system. He becomes this revolutionary by default, and doesn't even really know it's happening until he actually gets somewhere where he sees his face plastered all over him. It's a big surprise to him. So with James, he in many ways is a classic reluctant hero. He, I don't think would ever have chosen to be in the position that he finds himself in continuously through the show. I mean, poor James is like adrenals are shot by the end of this season. But there's a major game changer in the very beginning of the show, and I think more than anything, Holden really feels responsible for it, even if it's not necessarily his fault. The guilt and the need for justice overtakes, I think, any kind of hesitation about taking on more responsibility that he's had before. And every step of the way, just trying to survive, to allow the people around him to survive, he grows into becoming a leader. And it's a really fun character to play, because you as an actor, you start at a very simple kind of specific place and end up in a completely different one. And there's all these different colors. So it was a blast.
Did you read the books, or you prefer sticking to the script?
I did. I read the first two books. I know that some actors don't like to read the source material, and I totally understand that. Mine was kind of a hybrid situation, because I didn't read past the second one for a specific reason. I just didn't. There were elements of the first two books within the first season of the show, and they're beloved books, and for good reason. They're brilliant books, and I wanted to stay true and honor the character that really kind of guides the story through. And the first two books, I enjoyed them just as a reader, but I also was mining them for information. So his histories, his motivations, why he does become the guy he becomes, why he's there in the first place. So all the kind of basic kind of character development questions. And just to kind of get a sense of the tone. I mean, the books and the show as well is very much a space opera. And I think for the last 20 years or so, it's more, science fiction has been more on the hard science fiction side. It's been the technical kind of the math behind wormholes and the crazy technology and devices that and they explain why and all that stuff. We don't necessarily hang on those questions. It's not really about the devices or the technology for us. It's far more about the people. And I think more than anything else, it is about three people. It's about three people who come across this thing that they need to find out what's going on. And it's a drama. It's a drama that's set in a couple hundred years from now. But to your question, I found the books incredibly helpful, and especially having the authors on set and in the writers' room. I didn't feel like there was a need to shy away from them because everybody else was sticking to the books as much as I was. So it was just helpful for all of us to be on the same page.
What drew you to the project? Were you aware of the books beforehand, or?
I was, yeah, and it's interesting because I'm not a huge sci-fi reader actually, but I was drawn to them because I do love fiction. I read novels quite a bit, and a friend of mine actually recommended them. He's like, it's not necessarily your genre of writing, but I think you'd really like them, and he was right. I loved them. I just pulled me all the way through the first two very quickly, and they, I think what was so interesting about the books and the show as well. I hope we were able to pull this off. I think we have. I'm really proud of the first episode, which is all I've seen. So can't speak for the rest of it.
How many have you filmed?
10.
Okay.
But there's three very distinct tones in the show. You have in James's world, which is very much a kind of edge of your seat. These people are trying to survive in the middle of nowhere. Kind of a couple of people just set out into the solar system at large is trying to stay alive. You've got Miller's world, which is very much a noir kind of element to it, and you've got Avasarala's world, which is a political conspiracy kind of narrative, and they all hang together in a really harmonious way to tell a very specific story of trying to find out what's going on with this conspiracy that we've all come across, which is really unique. I never really had seen that before. To have so many different tones tell a very specific tale that are very much about the people. So, I guess that's what drew me to the writing.
Thanks, Sky.
Thank you. Hey, Thomas, how are you?
Hey, you guys, what's this thing here?
Battery power.
Oh, cool. That's neat. How long's that last?
Gives me about a day and a half charge.
Oh, that's not bad.
So is that Miller's hat you're wearing?
No, this is my hat.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my hat. But Miller's got a hat that's sort of similar to it. Yeah, but it's green. It's a little dark green.
So what can you tell us about Miller at this point? Where the show starts off?
Well, okay. There is I guess a colony on Ceres, which is the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt. NASA is now taking photos of that thing now. It's turned out to be a pretty interesting little planetoid. But I guess we start mining it based on these photos that they're now taking that NASA's taking. We discover some pretty great minerals and stuff. So eventually some private companies go out and build a mining company, and that little mining colony grows into a whole city, and within, I'd say 100 years. So Miller was born in that city. He's one of the first generation people to be born in the city and raised in the city. His parents were miners, and they died. It's a very dangerous job, obviously, to be these kind of this is like the hardy kind of pioneer type people that are going to go out and live on an asteroid and work, and it's a very dangerous job, and a lot of guys die. And so within the colony they have a system to raise the orphans. So Miller grew up as an orphan in this system, so you could call him a ward of the state, which gave him, I think, an attitude very much that every man for himself, made him crafty and streetwise, and he became a cop because he knew that the little guy always gets stepped on. So he, any kind of power that you can have for yourself is a good thing. Survival of the fittest. He became a cop. He was very much out for himself. Very morally ambiguous guy. Amoral. He'll take a bribe. A colony like that's kind of like a wild western town. It has its own kind of justice, you know, and it's not always the good kind.
In the books, Miller is kind of like a film noir anti-hero,
Right.
working for a security firm who goes looking for Julie Mao. So is that the same in the show?
Absolutely. Yeah. So he becomes works for the security firm, which is basically the police force of this mining colony on Ceres, and gets assigned this job. And they basically assign him this job because he doesn't know this, but they actually don't want her found. You know, so they gave it to like a guy who would make it go away, which is what he would normally do. He's the amoral character. But for some reason, in this particular job, he doesn't let it go. He really does want to find this girl. And then through that journey, he kind of starts to change his attitude about life and about what's valuable.
Did you take inspiration from any particular like noir detective kind of?
Well, all of them. You know, I'm a fan of all the books, and of course I like all the great movies. But I took a little bit from Kiss Me Deadly, Ralph Meeker's character, a little bit of Humphrey Bogart, and a little bit of Mickey Rourke in Year of the Dragon. So I'd say it's sort of a Ralph Meeker, Humphrey Bogart, Mickey Rourke kind of stew. This Miller character, I liked him. I had a lot of fun.
So is that what drew you to the project in the first place? Was it more the character or more the
Yeah, I love the character and the world that they're creating. I like the future noir. You know, future noir is a great genre. Not a lot of stuff done in it, but this will be one of the better future noir, you know, things. And the story, of course, was great, and the writers, Hawk Osby, Mark Fergus, and our writers who wrote the book, they were also instrumental in writing screenplays. You know, that's what attracts me, is great characters, a great world. We had a fantastic set builders, and they really spent some money on this thing, make it great, and we had a great experience.
What are your thoughts of seeing the Punisher in Daredevil TV show now?
That's great. You know, I heard somebody just told me over there that they're doing that, and that's terrific, man. I just hope that I hope they do a great job. You know, I hope they get it right. It's nice. It's nice when they get it right.
I was with Ray Stevenson this morning, so they did Punisher too. So it was
Right.
two Punishers in one day.
That's funny. I hear Ray's a nice guy. It's great. Good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck with the show. Thank you.
Thank you.